My daughter's voice on the phone was shaking. I almost didn't answer. It was 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I was in the middle of reviewing quarterly reports for the board meeting. The number showed Grace mobile, but we hadn't spoken in 4 years. Not since the divorce. Not since Linda got full custody and I got supervised visitation that I rarely used because, frankly, it was easier to just send the checks and stay away. Easier for everyone, I told myself. "Dad?" Grace said when I picked up. She was crying. My chest tightened. "Grace? What's wrong? Are you okay?" "It's Lily," she sobbed. "She's in the hospital. They found something." "Dad? They said she has acute lymphoblastic leukemia." The quarterly report slipped from my hands and scattered across the floor of my home office. Lily, my granddaughter, 8 years old. I had seen her exactly twice in my life. Once at the hospital when she was born, before Linda made it clear I wasn't welcome. Once at Grace's college graduation 3 years ago, where Lily waved at me from across the parking lot before Linda hustled her away. "How bad is it?" My voice came out hoarse. "Bad. They said she needs a bone marrow transplant as soon as possible. We're doing family testing tomorrow. Mom already got tested. I'm getting tested. They need everyone." She paused. "I know we haven't talked. I know things are complicated, but she's my daughter, Dad. And she's your granddaughter." I was already pulling up flights to Denver on my laptop. "Text me which hospital. I'll be on the first flight out tomorrow morning." "Really?" The hope in her voice broke something inside me that I thought had calcified years ago. "Really?" The line went quiet except for her breathing. Then she whispered, "Thank you," and hung up. I sat there, staring at the phone for a long time. The last conversation I'd had with Grace before this call was 4 years ago. She had called to tell me she was pregnant, that she and her husband Marcus were expecting. I congratulated her, asked the appropriate questions, and then she said, "I want you to be part of the baby's life, Dad." I had said no. Not directly, of course. I said I was traveling a lot for work, that it was complicated with her mother, that maybe when things settled down, all the things people say when they mean no but don't want to say it. The truth was simpler and uglier. After Linda divorced me and poisoned Grace against me, after the custody battle that I half-heartedly fought and lost, I decided it was easier to just close that chapter. To be the absent father who sent birthday cards and occasional checks. To not feel anything. But now, sitting in my quiet house at nearly 10 p.m., I felt everything. Terror for Lily. Shame at my own cowardice. A desperate, clawing need to do something, anything, to help. I booked a 6 a.m. flight. The hospital was one of those modern children's facilities with bright murals on the walls and volunteers dressed as superheroes. It felt obscene. How do you paint happiness over a place where children die? I found Grace in the oncology ward waiting room. She looked exhausted, her dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, her eyes swollen from crying. When she saw me, she stood up uncertainly. We hadn't hugged in years. I didn't know if I was allowed. She made the decision for me, walking into my arms and collapsing against my chest. "Thank you for coming," she whispered. "Of course," I said. Though we both knew it wasn't of course at all. It was miraculous that I was here. "Mom's with Lily right now," Grace said, pulling back. "She doesn't know you're coming. Is that going to be a problem?" Grace's face hardened in a way that reminded me painfully of Linda. "I don't care. This is about Lily, not about whatever happened between you two." Linda appeared 15 minutes later. She looked older. We both did. Her hair, which had been dark brown when we divorced, was now silver gray. She wore jeans and a Colorado Rockies sweatshirt and no makeup. When she saw me sitting next to Grace, she stopped cold. "What is he doing here?" She wasn't addressing me, even though I was 5 feet away. "He's here to get tested," Grace said firmly. "Lily needs all the potential donors she can get." Linda's jaw clenched, but she didn't argue. She turned to the reception desk and said something I couldn't hear. A moment later, a nurse came out and called my name. The testing was simple. Blood draw, cheek swab, Medical history. The nurse, a kind woman named Patricia with photos of golden retrievers on her badge lanyard, explained that they were testing everyone in the family first. Parents, grandparents, siblings if there were any. If none of them matched, they would search the National Bone Marrow Registry. How long until we know? I asked. Results take about a week for the full HLA typing. But we run a preliminary screening within 48 hours that tells us if you're in the ballpark. I nodded, rolling down my sleeve. Can I see her? Lily? Patricia smiled gently. That's up to her parents, Mr. Richardson, but she's in room 412 if they say yes. I found Grace in the hallway, outside room 412. Through the window in the door, I could see a small figure in the hospital bed, bald from chemotherapy, watching something on an iPad. My heart twisted. Can I go in? I asked Grace. She bit her lip. She doesn't really know you, Dad. I've shown her pictures, told her stories. But I'm a stranger, I finished. Yeah, can I try anyway? Grace studied my face for a long moment. Whatever she saw there must have satisfied her, because she nodded and opened the door. Lily looked up as we entered. She had Grace's dark eyes, and I realized with a jolt my mother's nose. My mother, who had died 6 years ago, who I had also been too busy to visit enough before the end. Lily, sweetie, Grace said softly. This is my dad. Your Grandpa Robert. Lily looked at me with the unnervingly direct gaze of a child who has had to become old too fast. The one who lives far away? Yes, I said, my throat tight. But I came as soon as I heard you were sick. I'm going to try to help. Are you a donor? Lily asked. She pronounced it carefully, like a word she had just learned. I'm getting tested. We'll find out soon if I'm a match. She nodded seriously. Mommy and Grandma Linda got tested too. Uncle Marcus got tested. They said I need somebody with the right kind of match, like puzzle pieces. That's right, I said, like puzzle pieces. She went back to her iPad. I stood there awkwardly until Grace touched my arm and led me back out. The preliminary results came back 48 hours later. I was sitting in a hotel room near the hospital when Grace called. You're a potential match, she said, her voice trembling with hope. They're running the full typing now, but they said the preliminary markers are very promising. More promising than Mom's. More promising than Marcus's. I closed my eyes. Thank God. They said we'll know for sure in 5 more days. Those 5 days were the longest of my life. I stayed in Denver. I went to the hospital every day. Linda maintained a cold distance, speaking to me only when absolutely necessary. But Grace let me sit with Lily, and slowly, tentatively, my granddaughter started to warm up to me. On day 3, she asked me to read to her. I read 3 chapters of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory while she dozed against my shoulder. On day 4, she told me about her best friend Sophie who sent her videos from school. On day 5, she said, I wish you lived closer. Me too, sweetheart, I said. The call came on day 6. Grace, Linda, Marcus, and I were all in the waiting room when Dr. Patel, the oncologist, came to find us. She was a small woman with kind eyes behind rimless glasses, and she was not smiling. Can we talk in my office? She asked. My stomach dropped. That was never a good sign. We filed in and sat in the chairs, arranged in front of her desk. Dr. Patel closed the door and sat down across from us. She had a manila folder in front of her. She opened it, looked at the papers inside, then looked up at us. I have Robert's complete HLA typing results, she said carefully. And? Grace leaned forward. He's a perfect match. 10 out of 10 markers, which is extremely rare for a grandparent. Extremely fortunate. Relief flooded through me so powerfully I felt dizzy. So I can donate? Dr. Patel's expression didn't change. Medically, yes. You're an ideal donor. But there's something else. She looked down at the folder again, then back up at us. Her gaze moved between Grace and me. The HLA typing also includes some genetic information, and what we found is unusual. What do you mean, unusual? Linda asked sharply. Dr. Patel took a breath. Mr. Richardson is a perfect match for Lily because he shares significant genetic material with her. That part makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the specific pattern of inheritance. She paused. I had the lab run the tests twice. Then I called in our head of genetics to review. Mr. Richardson, you're not genetically consistent with being Lily's maternal grandfather. The room went silent. I stared at her. I don't understand. The genetic markers indicate that you and Lily share DNA, but not through Grace. Dr. Patel looked at Grace, then back at me. You couldn't be Grace's biological father. The words didn't make sense. I heard them, but they didn't mean anything. Grace couldn't be, but she had to be. Linda and I. That's impossible, Linda said, her voice sharp. Of course, Robert is Grace's father. Dr. Patel pulled out a paper and turned it so we could see. It was covered in numbers and terminology I didn't understand. I'm not a geneticist, but I consulted with one. These markers here, she pointed, indicate that Mr. Richardson and Grace don't share a parent-child genetic relationship. But these markers, she pointed to a different section, indicate that Mr. Richardson and Lily do share significant genetic material, which would only be possible if Robert is Lily's paternal grandfather, Grace whispered. Her face had gone white. If he's Marcus's father. No one spoke. Marcus, Grace's husband, looked like he might throw up. He was a tall black man with kind eyes who worked as a high school history teacher. I had met him exactly 3 times. At Grace's college graduation, at their small courthouse wedding that I wasn't invited to but crashed anyway, standing in the back. And yesterday, in this hospital, I need to see Marcus's birth records, I said, my voice coming from somewhere outside my body. Marcus pulled out his phone with shaking hands. He opened a Photos app and scrolled until he found a picture of a birth certificate. He enlarged it and handed me the phone. Marcus Anthony Richardson, born the 18th of February, 1993, Denver, Colorado. Mother, Cheryl Richardson. Father, blank, Richardson. The same last name. My mother, Marcus said hoarsely, told me my father left before I was born, that he wanted nothing to do with us. She said his name was Robert and he was white and he was gone. That's all she ever said. I looked at the birth date. February 1993. I counted backward. Conceived in May 1992. May 1992. Linda and I had been separated. Not divorced, but separated. We had split up in March after a huge fight about my work travel. I had moved into a hotel. I was angry and hurt and lonely. I went to bars. I made terrible decisions. Cheryl, I said slowly, dredging up a memory I had buried for 30 years. Cheryl from the conference. I had met her at a tech conference in Denver in May 1992. We had spent 3 nights together. She was smart and funny, and I was drunk on freedom and anger at Linda. When the conference ended, I went back to California. Linda and I reconciled 2 weeks later. I never thought about Cheryl again. Never knew she was pregnant. Never knew I had a son. Marcus was staring at me with an expression I couldn't read. You're my father? I didn't know, I said. I swear to God, I didn't know. Your mother never contacted me. Never told me. Maybe she tried, Marcus said quietly. Maybe you didn't want to know. The accusation hung in the air because it was probably true. I had been so focused on reconciling with Linda, so focused on my career, so focused on myself. If Cheryl had tried to reach me, would I have responded? Would I have cared? Grace made a sound that was half sob, half laugh. So you're saying that my husband is my half-brother? That Lily is? Lily is fine, Dr. Patel said quickly. Genetically, there's no indication of any issues related to consanguinity. You're half-siblings, which means you share one parent but not both. The genetic risk is minimal, especially for first-generation offspring. And regardless, we need to focus on treating her leukemia. Jesus Christ, Linda said. She was staring at me with an expression of pure horror. You slept with someone while we were separated and got her pregnant? We were separated, Linda. You told me it was over. For 6 weeks. We were separated for 6 weeks. I didn't know she was pregnant. But you knew you slept with her, and you never mentioned it. Not once in 33 years of marriage? You're really going to lecture me on honesty right now? The words came out before I could stop them. Linda's face went rigid. What is that supposed to mean? I shouldn't have said it. I should have let it go. But 3 decades of resentment came pouring out. You poisoned Grace against me for years. You lied to the custody evaluator. You told everyone I was a deadbeat father when you know damn well I tried, Linda. In the beginning, I tried. You tried? Linda's voice rose. You missed her school plays. You forgot her birthday 3 times. You chose work over her again and again. Because you made it impossible. Every time I tried to be involved, you found a way to shut me out. Stop it! Grace stood up, tears streaming down her face. Both of you, just stop! My daughter is dying and you're screaming at each other about things that happened 30 years ago. She was right. We all knew she was right. The room went silent except for Grace's ragged breathing. Dr. Patel spoke gently. I know this is overwhelming, but we need to make a decision about the transplant. Mr. Richardson is still a perfect match for Lily. That hasn't changed. Marcus spoke for the first time since seeing his birth certificate. You're my father, and you want to give bone marrow to save my daughter, who is also, I guess, your great-granddaughter and your granddaughter. Yes, I said. If you'll let me. He looked at Grace. Some silent communication passed between them. Finally, Grace nodded. Okay, Marcus said. Okay. The transplant was scheduled for 2 weeks later. In those 2 weeks, I met with Marcus 3 times. The first meeting was awkward and painful. He told me about his mother, Cheryl, who had died of breast cancer when he was 19. She had raised him alone, working 2 jobs, never marrying. She had told him stories about his father, the man who left, the man who didn't want him. I'm sorry, I said. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry I didn't know. I'm sorry your mother had to do it alone. Marcus didn't forgive me. Not that time. But he listened. The second meeting, he brought photos. Him at 5, gap-toothed and grinning. Him at 12, awkward and tall. Him at his mother's funeral, 19 and devastated. Him at college. Him meeting Grace. I looked at all of them and saw a life that had happened without me. A son I never knew I had. The third meeting, he asked me questions. Where did I grow up? What was my childhood like? Did I have other family? I told him about his grandparents, both dead now. His Aunt Sarah, my sister, who lived in Boston. His medical history. Everything I could think of that he deserved to know. At the end of that meeting, he said, I don't know if I can call you Dad. That word means something different to me. I understand, I said. You can call me Robert. But maybe, he said slowly, you could meet my kids. Not just Lily. I have a son, Jackson. He's 5. He should know his grandfather, however weird this situation is. I nodded, not trusting my voice. The transplant itself was more painful than I expected. They harvested bone marrow from my hip bones under general anesthesia. I woke up sore and groggy, but the first thing I asked was, did it work? Did they get enough? The nurse smiled. They got plenty. You did good. Lily's transplant happened the next day. I wasn't allowed in the room, but Grace sent me updates every hour. The cells were infused. Lily was stable. Now we waited to see if my bone marrow would engraft and start producing healthy blood cells. The waiting was agony. Lily was in isolation to prevent infection while her immune system rebuilt itself. Only Grace and Marcus were allowed in the room. I spent my days in the hospital waiting room, doing work on my laptop, reading, drinking terrible coffee. Linda avoided me. But one day, about a week after the transplant, she sat down across from me. You know the worst part? She said without preamble. It's not that you slept with someone while we were separated. It's that you never told me. 33 years, Robert. We got back together. We had a life. We had Grace. and you never mentioned it. It was one weekend, Linda. It meant nothing. It meant a child, Marcus. It meant our daughter married your son without any of us knowing. It meant Lily is." She trailed off. "Is our granddaughter and great-granddaughter?" I finished. "I know. It's a mess. Grace is devastated. She's been married to her half-brother for 6 years. She has 2 children with him, who are healthy and loved and fine," I said firmly. Dr. Patel confirmed there are no genetic issues. "That's not the point. The point is, it happened because of choices you made and secrets you kept." I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in years. "You're right. I should have told you. I should have been honest. But Linda, you kept secrets too. You told Grace I didn't want to see her. You told the court I was uninvolved. Some of that was true, but some of it wasn't, and you know it." She looked away. I was hurt and angry, and I wanted her to love me more than she loved you. "So we're both guilty," I said. "Yes," she said quietly. "We are." We sat in silence for a moment. Then Linda said, "She needs you now. Grace. She's falling apart, trying to hold it together for Lily and Marcus. She needs her father." "I'm here," I said. "I'm not going anywhere." 3 weeks after the transplant, Lily's blood counts started to rise. The bone marrow had engrafted. She was producing healthy blood cells. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. 4 weeks after the transplant, Lily was moved out of isolation. I was allowed to see her. She was still thin and weak, but her eyes were brighter. When I walked into the room, she smiled. "Grandpa Robert, Mommy said the transplant is working." "It is, sweetheart," I said, sitting carefully on the edge of her bed. "Because of your bone marrow," she said seriously. "It's like you gave me puzzle pieces and now I'm complete again." "Something like that?" She tilted her head, studying me. "Mommy told me something confusing. She said that you're Daddy's father too. Is that true?" I glanced at Grace, who nodded. We had agreed to tell Lily age-appropriate versions of the truth. "It's true," I said. "I'm your grandpa in 2 ways. Through your mommy and through your daddy." "That's weird," Lily said. "It is weird," I agreed. "But good weird," she decided. "Because it means you're double grandpa." I laughed, and it felt like the first real laugh I'd had in months. Double grandpa. I like that. Lily came home from the hospital 6 weeks after the transplant. I had extended my leave from work indefinitely. I found an apartment in Denver, 20 minutes from Grace and Marcus's house. Marcus and I were building something. Not a father-son relationship, exactly. But something. He introduced me to Jackson, my 5-year-old grandson who looked exactly like Marcus had in the photos. Jackson called me Grandpa Robert without hesitation, accepting my presence with the easy flexibility of young children. Grace was slower to trust me. The revelation about Marcus, combined with all our old history, had created new walls. But I kept showing up. I came to Lily's follow-up appointments. I helped Jackson with his homework. I had dinner with them once a week. Slowly, the walls started to come down. 3 months after the transplant, we had a family dinner at Grace and Marcus's house. All of us. Grace, Marcus, Lily, Jackson, me, and surprisingly, Linda. She had come to see Lily and ended up staying. We sat around the table eating spaghetti that Jackson had helped make, which meant there was sauce on approximately every surface. Lily was wearing a new wig, purple this time, her choice. She was still in remission, still fragile, but alive. "I want to say something," Marcus said suddenly. We all looked at him. He was looking at me. "I've been thinking a lot about family, about what it means, about DNA and choice and presence." He took a breath. "You're my biological father. That's a fact. But you weren't there when I was growing up, and I can't pretend that doesn't matter. You weren't the one who raised me." I nodded, bracing myself. "But," Marcus continued, "you're here now. You saved Lily's life. You're trying to build something with Jackson and Lily. You're trying with Grace. You're even being civil with Linda, which I know isn't easy." Linda snorted, but she was almost smiling. So I've decided, Marcus said, that you can be Grandpa Robert to my kids. And maybe, eventually, if we keep doing this, keep showing up for each other, you can be something to me too. I don't know what that looks like yet. But I'm willing to find out. My eyes burned. I'd like that. But you have to promise, Marcus said, his voice hardening slightly, that you'll keep showing up. Not just when it's convenient. Not just when you feel guilty. Always. I promise, I said. I'm done running away. That night, after everyone had left and I was driving back to my apartment, Grace called. "Hey, Dad," she said. Just those 2 words. "Hey, sweetheart," I said. "I'm glad you came when I called. That night, when Lily was first diagnosed. Me too. I'm still angry about a lot of things. About Marcus, about my childhood, about the lies and the distance. But I'm trying to let it go, or at least put it aside for now. I understand. Do you remember what you said to Lily? About giving her puzzle pieces? I remember. That's what this is, Grace said. We're all broken pieces trying to fit together in a way that makes sense. It's not pretty. It's not what anyone would have designed. But maybe it works anyway. Maybe it does, I said. I love you, Dad, she said quietly. I know, I haven't said that in a long time. But I do. I love you too, Grace, I said. So much. After we hung up, I pulled over and sat in my car and cried. Not from grief this time. From something else. Something that felt almost like hope. 6 months after the transplant, Lily was declared in full remission. 1 year after, she was declared cancer-free. 2 years after, she started 4th grade with a full head of hair and a smile that lit up rooms. I'm 70 now. I retired early and moved permanently to Denver. I see my grandkids 3 times a week. Marcus and I have breakfast every Sunday morning at a diner near his house. We talk about teaching, politics, our favorite books. Sometimes we talk about his mother. Sometimes we don't talk at all, just sit in comfortable silence. Linda and I are civil now, sometimes even friendly. She remarried last year to a man named Tom who makes her laugh. I'm happy for her. Grace and I rebuilt our relationship piece by piece. It's not perfect. We still argue sometimes. But she knows I'm here. She knows I'm not leaving. Last month, Lily asked me to come to her school for Grandparents' Day. I sat in a classroom full of kids and their grandparents while Lily introduced me. This is my double grandpa, she said proudly. He saved my life. The other kids were impressed. I was just grateful. Because here's what I learned. Family isn't just about DNA, though DNA matters. It isn't just about who raised you, though that matters too. It's about who shows up, who stays, who chooses to keep choosing you, day after day, even when it's hard. I missed 30 years of my son's life. I can never get that back. But I can be here now. I can be here for all of them. Some nights I think about that phone call from Grace, how close I came to not answering, how my whole life pivoted on that choice. I'm grateful I picked up the phone. I'm grateful I got on that plane. I'm grateful for the medical impossibility that brought the truth to light. Because sometimes the worst things that happen to us crack us open in ways that let the light in. Sometimes the secrets that destroy us also set us free. Sometimes the family we didn't know we had becomes the family we needed all along. I'm 70 years old. My granddaughter calls me Double Grandpa. My son, who I didn't raise, calls me Robert, but smiles when he says it. My daughter, who I almost lost, lets me be her father again. It's not the life I imagined. It's not the family I planned. But it's mine, and I'm not letting go.